And actually, an interesting segue. I think current sweepstakes chairman Frank Li is going to come join us, talk some stuff here. I was also thinking, Brian,
Yes.
if we ever really, really need to kill time, just your knowledge of buggy names, just play a game where you just say something. I have to guess if it's an actual buggy or not.
Oh, that'd be great. I'll just throw, like the Olympus Lizard.
Yeah, right.
Real
Which is a
real buggy name?
apparently, right? Or not.
Or random phrase I just, pulled
Yeah.
out of thin air.
Cool. Awesome. Well, good morning, Frank. How are you doing?
Morning. It is rough. It's cold, and I've been here since like 3 a.m. And I still have a smile on my face. It's all right.
Admittedly, looking at you right now, I don't think you're wearing enough layers for this morning.
I'm not. I had another layer on, but I had to discard it.
CIA?
I believe I may have caught some yellow under your jacket a little earlier.
Yeah. So when you join sweepstakes, you're supposed to forgo your team. Now, me on 2 hours of sleep this morning, I was like, oh, I need another layer. I just grabbed this yellow hoodie. I was like, oh, that's the wrong layer.
Oh, no. If anybody has a free jacket for Frank that's unaffiliated,
So Frank, I mean, sitting on my perch here in this freezing cold broadcast booth, the roads do look a little bit drier than certainly an hour ago.
Well, the issue is that, these roads are still too dry for the wheels to get a good grip. And so, what we see on the front hills is not representative of the most important section, which is the chute turn. And so the chute turn's at a lower elevation, so the water's going to pool there. And at the lowest points of the asphalt, you can see puddles right here. So right at that white-black tar line, I'm not sure which line that is. If you imagine, Shenley Drive going parallel down, there's, a little crevice right next to the corners of the bales, right where you see the bales. That's the lowest part of the course, and that's where all the puddles are, and that's where all the buggies go through on the turn. So if there's a puddle, we can't roll. If it's wet, we still can't roll. So we're waiting.
But the good news is we got races in yesterday. You guys did an incredible job getting that in.
Thank you.
I have to particularly shout out the call to move the women's reroll up into the middle of men's. Just to make sure.
I'm going to delegate that call to Jake Muskovitz, our assistant head judge. We were discussing. We've got one heat left before this downpour that we were expecting. We're like, what do we do? And Jake was like, we can just solidify the women's placings and at least have that going into the weekend. If today gets rained out, then we would have to roll Sunday because you need at least some prelim times. So, for example, yesterday we finished women's and we couldn't start men's at all, and today gets rained out, then we would roll Sunday so we would have times for men's. Right. Now, since we finished both prelims for both women's and men's, we are able to, cancel today if we have to due to the weather because we have prelim times for everyone and a placing which you can see on cmubuggy.org.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and I think we just got an update that we are currently in a delay until 10:20, which is about half an hour from now, where we'll make another decision as to whether rolls will go. And I know, today, it's Saturday. The original plan was that exhibitions were going to be first, as is tradition, followed by women's and men's. I know we had moved that similar to what we did yesterday, where exhibitions would just be at the end if there's time. I guess we'll see what happens soon. I do see the sun starting to maybe peek out a little bit.
It's weird. It's like depending if you turn your head a couple degrees, there's like very ominous dark clouds. And then a little bit of blue sky.
Yeah.
So welcome to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, for those of you not in Pittsburgh this year, Carnival is earlier this year than it normally is. It is cold. It is very cold. The forecast kind of called for snow flurries this morning.
Yeah, we were out here. I guess you were protected by this tent. There was some hail and sleet that came down. Quite characteristic. I've been here for like 20 years. I just love the city. Right now, not so much.
That's what gives it its charm. It's like, I couldn't live in California. I need a
There's
gray
no water
sky
there.
and misery. Well, that too. Yeah, not to get all ecological pessimist on you, but I like Pittsburgh. Hopefully, though, the Pittsburgh skies cooperate a little bit and get us some dry ground.
I can talk more about what we were doing for the exhibitions. We realized this year has been wild. And we've made a lot of changes to kind of the structure and organization, but we thought, these changes made sense, and we were prioritizing the students' experience, right? I mean, it is fun. Exhibitions are fun. I love, watching them. I love participating in them as well. Like I did for CIA 50 yesterday. But at the end of the day, it's about the students because they haven't had a race day in a long time. And also, they paid tuition to actually do this. We're just kind of showing up here and enjoying the show. So better get your money's worth. And really, if you have a good experience as a student, you're going to come back for more. And, this alumni network is part of, the goodness of Buggy. So for the details of the exhibitions, traditionally exhibitions are all on finals day today since there's more time because there's less heats. Only the top 10 from each gender qualify for day 2. And because of that, there's only 5 heats per gender, and we usually get to have more exhibitions. Now, because we were thinking the weather's a little sketchy and there weren't as many teams out on the field total, we were thinking we can get away with putting some of our exhibitions onto Friday morning and Saturday morning as well. And so this coupled with, giving some time for the broadcasters to settle in, get people back into the groove of, running Buggy, timing, the whole timing system, all our fantastic camera operators provided by Viewpoint and CMU TV, our wonderful radio club group W3VC and all. So we just wanted to give some time, maybe like half an hour in the beginning for everyone to get readjusted back into race day because it's been a long time since we've had it.
And just as like a behind-the-scenes sort of thing, so we've talked on the broadcast yesterday and some today as well. Unless you're a senior this year, you haven't experienced race day, and we've always talked about it from the team perspective. But behind the scenes, WRCT, CMU TV, W3VC, these are all student organizations.
Yeah.
They don't have the experience either. We haven't had a race day in 3 years.
Yeah, but I think, the broadcast team is doing a great job.
Yeah. An incredible job.
Yeah, we asked for the live stream link after yesterday's races were over, and they gave it back in like 5 minutes. So that's pretty impressive.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I do want to shout out all the students here, as well as the support folks. Viewpoint and some of the other teams, the Phoenix timing system, who are more professionals who do this.
They're driving across PA. That's a 5-hour drive.
Yeah, and just to sit out in the cold for hours, it's like it takes a commitment. But we definitely thank everyone here and all the alumni from those organizations who come back and help, because I know we couldn't do it without them either. I know every organization on campus has had manpower issues. Trying to recruit people.
Oh man, don't even get me started on Booth.
Yeah, exactly. So, hopefully having this race day and seeing what each of these organizations can do and pull together here will create even more interest for doing this in the future. Again, not just for the teams themselves racing, but also for the behind-the-scenes stuff, because there is so much stuff that goes on. Will, you started this as like just a WRCT
It was just
announcer.
because I was, sports at RCT. I was like, the Buggy thing, and it was bad. I was really, really bad that first year because it was like I knew nothing about Buggy.
And now look at him. He's perfectly mediocre.
Now I know a little bit about Buggy. It was rough. But it was fun, and I learned a lot. So I don't know. I don't think they do as much sports there anymore. But, hopefully someone will take my job one day, and I can finally be free of this.
Never.
Yeah. But we have fun with it.
Everyone calls you the voice of Buggy, and it's kind of hard to leave once you've been named
I'm
That's
in
quite a
deep.
nickname.
It's true, but people have short memories. If some kid, please do this. It's not that hard. Maybe it is. I don't know.
One day it'll just be a box that someone will press, and it'll be like, press this button when Will says STCB. And now it says it there.
Yeah,
So
right. Just get the soundboard.
So Frank, what was it like? This semester must have been a bit of a nightmare. For those who don't know, you didn't tune in yesterday. The weather first of all, I guess the semester started a little late, at least in person.
Well, the school semester started around the normal time. It's been so long I forget, and also don't really pay attention to the schedule exactly. All I pay attention to is when we're starting rolls. And we actually had permits ready for the first weekend of February, and that was really ambitious. But we also I thought it was ambitious, but it was something that was probably necessary for us to do as sweepstakes and for the teams. In the fall, we started a week early as well, and I think that made a tremendous difference because in the fall we had a bunch of single-day weekends. So for those that don't know, Sweepstakes Buggy, we organize free roll practices on weekend mornings. It's from like 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., and they're both Saturday and Sunday. But, one of the days gets canceled out, and so you only have 1 day per weekend. And it's a little bit harder because you do all this setup work just for 2 hours, and then you got to clean up again. So that's annoying. But we started a little bit early in the fall, and we were hoping to continue that in the spring just to get more rolls in. Now, that took a turn for the worst, and we didn't get our first roll in until, I think, the last weekend of February or something.
Yep.
We only had one that weekend. Then we had another one after spring break, and then one truck weekend, which was last week. So we've had 3 singular days of rolls this entire spring semester. It probably was me, and I cursed the weather. I'm sorry, everyone.
But you know what? We already got a day in. I don't like that shade of gray at the moment that's over on the side, but, I mean...
Yeah, on the south side, up top by the golf course.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where the
on the map?
wind is blowing.
Yeah, it's but honestly, like there's blue sky
right?
there's blue sky to that side, there's gray sky to that side, but we're just kind of sitting and waiting. I mean, that's the name of the game in buggy sometimes. Is hurry up and wait. But yeah, it's just, I mean, it's wild. I mean, what you guys managed to pull off on truck weekend just to get buggies qualified? Yeah, go ahead.
So usually, like I mentioned, we only have the permits to close the roads from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on the weekend free roll practices. Truck weekend is our dress rehearsal. So all the teams, all these big U-Haul trucks you see at the start line, these are, each U-Haul truck corresponds to a team, and the teams brought them out last weekend to practice as well. But truck weekend permits are only 7 to 9, just like normal free roll practices. Now, last week we're like, hey, we really need these rolls to qualify drivers because they need the practice and experience going around the course, especially at a fast speed. So what we asked the city of Pittsburgh was, could we extend the permits for another hour? And that got granted. And that gave us a lot more time to get the teams the necessary experience that they needed.
And then I know we talked to the driver of Signu yesterday, who managed to Sienna, who managed to get 14 rolls in that weekend, that day, leaving the buggy one time over the course of 3 hours. Which, I have never been in a buggy, but I've certainly put drivers in buggies, and I cannot imagine them being in there for that long.
Right.
I mean, that's a hero move, but you also have to recognize that for some drivers and buggies, their fitting is so tight that they physically cannot, be in there for too long. And, that if you're wondering why teams aren't just having their drivers just sitting in their buggies and waiting, is that in that prone position with their arms outstretched, their shoulders can get numb, their hands can get numb, and when they're numb and cold, they can't brake, and that's a safety concern. So it's just easier for us to just sit here, wait, and it sucks for everyone to wait, but we're all waiting.
Yeah, and it's funny. The alumni from Phi Kappa Theta have their old buggy Streak out, and it's actually out on the course today.
I think it's around Hill 5.
Yeah,
by Hunt Library.
Yeah, they're staging over there. So if you're on the course and you wander over there, you'll be able to see it.
Streak is like if you took an STC buggy, painted it dark navy blue, and then crossed it with like a sports car, like a Ferrari. It's insanely beautiful.
And they brought it over to the history buggy presentation, and I watched as one of my former drivers and one of our BAA officers who also drove loaded into it. And I mean, they both fit obviously because they can drive current buggies, but man, that is. I don't think you could sit in there for all that long, and then trying to get them out was much harder than trying to get them in.
Yeah, Streak is actually a difference. So the older buggies, the buggies you see now are just long torpedoes, and the drivers are outstretched with prone, and they have their arms outstretched. Some of the older buggies, like Tiger, Shark, and Streak, you actually go in and lay down prone, but your hands are by your side. It's really strange, and you kind of steer by wiggling your shoulders left and right. And so the way you get in is you kneel on the buggy, you put your feet back into the back of the buggy, you put your head in, and then you kind of shimmy your arms and shimmy into place like a hot dog.
Sounds like a Hokey Pokey remix.
It's funny. The first time I saw a front loader, because when I started at AE Pi, we had camo, which is you just take the shell off and then they load in from the top. You put some bars over them, basically screw it down, and then put a top on. But our first build, we built Zephyrus, and it's a front loader, which most buggies nowadays are. And it's like trying to understand how a driver gets into that. Like, I mean, they understood it pretty easily, but I'm sitting there like, how are you doing this?
Yeah, I mean, there's also, complicated is not the right word for it. There's also a series of safety kind of mechanisms inside the buggy to secure the driver in the event that, the buggy goes out of control or they, slide into a hay bale or something like that. And so, they have a harness on, they have helmets on. And they're clipping in all over their body. Usually the mechs are helping, but sometimes the drivers can do it themselves, and it's kind of like a jumbled mess of rope and limbs in there.
Yeah, I think one of our later buggies, maybe Aether, I can't remember which one. The driver was the only person to reach like the back attachment point. So the driver had to basically clip herself in back there, and then let the mechanics clip her in on the front side.
Yeah, I know. So some of the older buggies, they have a back hatch, and so if you want to attach the driver in the back, you would kind of stick your arm inside the back of the buggy. So like with a reverse trike, there's only one wheel in the back, so you take off this wheel cover hatch. You can access the wheel and replace it there, but you can usually stick your hand inside and then secure the driver. Well, sometimes your mechanic's arms are too big and you can't secure the driver, you can't get them out. That's a whole nother issue. I think most teams are trying to avoid this kind of design intricacy.
You also, if you have a back hatch, you have to make sure you cut it in the right place to be able to do that, and not cut it in a place just so you can reach the foam to remove it when you build the buggy.
Yes.
which may or may not be what we did with Zephyrus.
CIA's Kingfisher has a very interesting back hatch and push bar attachment. So most of the push bars are kind of maybe 20% up from the back of the buggy and attached there at an angle. Kingfisher's is raining quite heavily.
Not looking good.
It looks like that gray clouds are coming towards us, not away.
It is getting very cold.
Is that the shoot camera? That's probably the shoot camera.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Oh, poor lady with the umbrella there, flying away.
Yeah, it's windy. It's cold. Let's see. My phone says it is currently 39 degrees. It doesn't feel like that. I think it feels like 15.
Well, you're from California as well, aren't you?
I do live in California. It says feels like 33. Okay, so that's
It's a little bit of a wind tunnel up here in the booth.
It is. I mean, you can. I don't know if you can see.
Oh, shout out to that barricader who's an absolute trooper for still keeping our roads clear and safe for all the spectators right now. He is probably freezing right now.
Yeah. Again, in an in-depth weather delay here, I think they're going to make a go/no-go call in a half hour or so.
I'm going to leave and see
Cool. So it sounds like Frank's going to go have some discussions pertaining to that. So we appreciate y'all hanging around, sticking with us. Again,